Hello. After I was discarded, I realized that the person whom I liked was an enemy. And if there is an enemy, there is a warfare going on. And that led me to realize that I was in a context of abuse, and abuse you read, and then you find out that there is something called abusive cycle, which is a never-ending cycle of abuse, with the hovering and then the violence and then the hovering and then the violence, and the only one interested in getting out of this abusive cycle is the one who's getting damaged, and this one is the victim, is the only one in this cycle who's feeling the pain. But that led me to realize that I was in a context of psychological warfare. And as such, it could be good if I read something about warfare. And what I remembered is a well-known book called The Art of War by Sun Tzu, I guess. That's how you, I don't know how you pronounce it right. He was a Chinese person involved in the military. That's all I can tell. And first I read about the book, and I discovered that people in many fields read it because they consider themselves to be in a position of fighting and to be at war in business, sports, and many other fields. So many people read the Art of War to get important and good insights about making war, especially psychological warfare. One thing I know is that the Brazilian soccer there's a Brazilian soccer technician, not technician, is the coach. He knows this book from the beginning to end, and he gives it to his soccer players so that they can read and apply the suggestions that Sun Tzu gives in that book, The Art of War. One of the things that you can see applied in fighting championships like MMA, mixed martial arts, is one suggestion that is given in The Art of War, and that is to, when you're in a warfare, you should be able to conquer your enemy very quickly, very fast. And that's when you start watching fights that they end in the first few seconds. And when you see some fights that end very quickly, that's one of the very ancient application of a very ancient warfare strategy, that you gotta win your enemy very fast and very quickly, so that the enemy doesn't even know what happened. And if you think about in the situation of narcissistic abuse, the love bombing strategy that narcissists apply is basically an application of this principle of winning the war quickly. And in the hoovering, which happened to me, the narcissist was very, very quick in getting answers from me, in making a quick decision to decide to keep on the relationship. The narcissist is very impatient. They want you to give an answer very quick, to forgive him or her very quickly. And that's psychological warfare. It's a very ancient warfare principle that happened to me. And that's good that I'm telling you about these things, but maybe you can recognize and do something about it. Don't rush into making decisions to forgive the narcissist or to get back to the relationship or to get married or to allow him in your house, in your life again. They want very quick answers from your part, but when you ask them to be quick, they take ages. They are passive aggressive, and because they don't want to agree with you, they will be passive aggressive. They will take ages to give you an answer, to make a decision. And as I spoke in another video, that decision will never come because they are applying the limbo tactic because it benefits them. But in your case, they demand that you make a decision very quick. You cannot be on the fence. Aren't they bastards? With the narcissist, you can never be on the fence. He can be on the fence with you, but you can never be indecisive with the narcissist. He demands a position from you. And that position is obviously always submission. He demands that you submit quickly. Okay, another thing that I was remembering is something that I remembered when I was talking with a friend. It is a survivor. He was sending me emails speaking of his experiences, and because he asked me, I'm not going to say his name nor give any specific information in respect of his situation. And but an aspect of his story made me remember something that I learned when I read The Art of War right after I was discarded. In fact, two principles that Sun Tzu gives. And the first of them that I can talk about is the principle that if you are like this survivor friend is, and if you are in enemy territory, if you are in a situation of warfare, and in the case is psychological warfare and legal warfare either, if you are in an enemy territory, you should do your best not to engage in warfare in an enemy territory, because that you will be in a disadvantage. And in the art of war, a very old strategy is to avoid being in battle or engaging in battle when you are in enemy territory, because you will be at a disadvantage and your enemy will have some big chances of winning, because you are in his territory and he knows the terrain, he knows how things work, he knows the mountains of the place, and you can take it metaphorically. He knows where there are the rivers for his soldiers, or where uh, he can apply traps to get to you, to kill you, and everything. So if you are in an enemy territory, be very aware with the narcissist, because you will already be in a disadvantage. So you should think about not engaging in certain aspects of the warfare that the narcissist is trying to he wants you to engage you in that warfare. So don't engage in it, because you're not going to win. The probabilities and the chances of you winning are smaller. And that happened to me because, for example, in my case, when she discarded me and then she came with the hoovering, offering a gift, she lives in another city. And when she said, well, I have a gift to give to you, I said, oh, what the hell? You are expecting me to leave my town, travel 2 hours to go to your territory where you are in an advantage, and get a gift from you after you bullied me and you crushed my heart into pieces, causing damage to my psyche, to my mental health. You want me to spend money with gasoline and time traveling to get to meet a piece of crap like you in your territory? Have you watched The Godfather? The mafia guys in fiction, and probably in reality, they all have territories. And if you are in enemy territory, you better be very careful. So I told myself, wait a minute, I'm not gonna be in your territory. You are making warfare with me all this time and I didn't see it. I'm not gonna go into enemy territory. If you wanna give me a present, why don't you come into my territory and give it to me? Narcissists are vagabonds, bums. I guess even the law of the less effort applies with narcissists, because with them you are the one who has to make all the effort. They don't make any efforts, and that is the position of power. The less effort you make, the more powerful you look in the relationship. Another thing that is a principle given in the art of war is that you should never battle with your enemy in a terrain in which you are down and coming up, and your enemy is fighting with you going downwards in a mountain, because your soldiers and yourself will have to be making lots of effort, and then you will be in a physical disadvantage, while your enemy is going downhill. He's not making too much effort to crush you. And metaphorically, you can apply this to your narcissistic abuse situation. Don't go in a battle if your narcissist is, as it usually is, if he is in a position of being in a higher hierarchy, if he is richer, if he's got more social status, because he will have the money to pay the best for the best professionals to destroy you. If he's in a higher position, like a teacher, and that's very enraging. If you are being bullied by somebody higher than yourself, because there's nothing you can do but to leave and deal with the horrible pain and anger of the shitty situation. In my case, what I realized is that she was unattached to me. So she was in a higher place in the mountain, and I was at a disadvantage. There was an imbalance because I was the one emotionally attached, and she was the one distant, emotionally distant, unattached. So she was at an advantage. And if you are attached to someone, especially a narcissist, you are very vulnerable to attacks. So I realized that. And that was another reason that I said, this in this psychological warfare that this narcissist is making with me, doing with me, I am in a very disadvantaged point because I am vulnerable while she is not vulnerable. She is very secretive. She got very good boundaries because she was deceitful, and I was open, I was attached, I was honest, and that put me in a very open and vulnerable situation to attacks and to more exploitation. And if you are in enemy territory, it is also a question of um, your narcissist has advantages over you. So in the art of war, it is said that if the chances that you're going to lose the war are high, don't go to war, because you will win. Not going into war is already a victory, is a kind of victory. And in the end, it is not a question of playing the narcissist, playing a role in the narcissist's war, because that is the narcissist game. When you leave the psychological warfare. You don't engage in it because you are not the one interested in that. You don't need drama to survive. The narcissist needs to feed on your emotions, but you don't need that. But if you don't participate in it, you are focusing all the attention on yourself and on your life, which is the only thing that matters. And now, as enraging, frustrating, painful as it is, the focus, it will be less painful to focus on yourself. For example, when I was thinking about all this painful things that the narcissist did to me, when I changed my thoughts to myself, the pain that I was feeling was kind of soothed. The pain, I felt less pain in that moment. It's all a question of staying in the moment, which is a strategy for psychological pain management. If you stay in the now, paying attention to what you are hearing, feeling, tasting, seeing, staying in the moment is a way of dealing with the pain, because you're not thinking about the past. And when I thought about myself, I could feel that I was not feeling so much psychological pain. And in fact, not engaging in that war was a victory, because the most important part was me. I was the most important part in that. My pleasure My survival was the most important thing. If not pleasure in that moment, survival at least. Survival. And if you read or you know about the double bind situation, it's very similar, isn't it? Because the classical image of the double bind is that you go into a room, there is a master there, somebody, and he tells you, if you drink this tea, I am gonna hit you with a stick. If you don't drink with this tea, I'm gonna hit you with a stick also. And there is a third element there, which is in some cases you cannot leave, or you cannot attack the tea. I don't remember. You will have to do some research, okay? But every double bind has specific solutions. But the classic one is that you either leave because you're not playing the game, you refuse to play the game, and then you refuse to play the abuser's game, and then even the abuser acquires respect from you, or you take the stick from the abuser. You take his power to hurt you. That's the solution to this situation. And then as a metaphor you apply it in your situation. But leaving, which is the option that in the narcissistic abuse thing is the solution, the classic solution, maybe the only solution, because if you take the stick but you stay in the same room with the narcissist, you will be losing, because you're still in contact with something which is doing bad for your health. And because of this, leaving the room and the narcissist altogether is the best solution for the victim, because you're not playing the game and you are not subjected to manipulation. In the book about manipulation, in her book about manipulation, Harriet Brecker says that the removal from the situation, from the person, the no contact thing, is the ultimate resistance, is the highest form of resisting your abuser, of saying no. You're not going to manipulate me anymore. You're not going to hurt me anymore. And that's, in the art of war, is what Sun Tzu says. Don't engage in the war if you know you are going to lose. So I was remembering those things, and this survivor story made me remember those things that I went through and that I thought about, that helped me go through the discarding phase. And I hope this was helpful. Thank you for your time.